The U.S. and its allies are considering military intervention in Syria after the government's alleged use of chemical weapons, and that could pose a threat to the global oil supply. The conflict has already pushed crude oil prices to a 6-month high. Shraysi Tandon has more.
In recent days, the possibility of a U.S.-led military strike on Syria following the country's alleged use of chemical weapons pushed U.S. oil prices higher than they've been in 18 months. October futures for U.S. crude crept over $110. Brent crude oil surged and hit $117 a barrel, the highest in 6 months, on fears U.S. and its allies such as the U.K. and France are preparing to attack Syria. This has raised concerns over the security of oil supplies across the Middle East, which pumps a third of the world's oil.
The oil markets are basically pricing in an attack on Syria, which is basically seen as a given. It's going to happen. The only question is when, who's going to be involved, and what form the attack is going to take. But the markets are taking it as a given. I think Brent could go up by another $5 or $10, say to Brent 125, simply based on the anticipation of an imminent attack on Syria.
Syrian oil output isn't much of a factor in pricing, as more than 30 countries produced more oil, and Syria's production has already fallen to less than 15% of what it was. Syria's oil output has dropped to 50,000 barrels per day from around 350,000 barrels per day when civil unrest first began 2 years ago. It's the spillover effects traders are most nervous about. Traders are concerned that any strike on Syria may distress other parts of the Middle East and threaten exports from a region that produces over 35% of the world's oil. Saudi Arabia, which is the largest supplier of oil in the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, has backed opponents of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Iran, the world's fourth largest producer, supports Assad.
If the violence starts to affect Iraq's main crude exports, which are out of the south, this is Basra, that's 2 million barrels a day, potentially. That's at risk. And that's my big concern. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think an attack on Syria is likely. That's not possible. It's probable. Iraq is a wild card, and particularly the south. So I think that would be my top worry.
Experts say oil markets have already begun to price the risk of military action as a U.S. strike inches closer to the Middle East. Shraysi Tandon, CCTV, New York.